Hello, I'm Lori Lane Zucker, founder and CEO of Impact Entrepreneur, and we are here at the Asia Pacific Impact Investing Summit in Sydney, Australia. And I am here with Jessica Roth of the Social Impact Hub, right?
That's right.
Thanks for sitting down with me, Jessica. Tell me about the Social Impact Hub. What do you do here in Australia?
Sure. Thanks so much. So we are based in Sydney, Australia, and we are a hub with a number of different spokes to a number of different things. So we educate, we advise, we do community building, we mobilize capital for impact, and we do thought leadership to help encourage new people to come into the sector. So we're about 5.5 years old now. We're an intermediary. We're in the middle of the sector, helping to grow the impact investment sector, helping to grow the number of social enterprises that are impact investment ready, and helping to build the pipeline of social change agents.
All wonderful work. So you got into this space. It sounds like you did some graduate work in my part of the world, in Massachusetts.
I did. I was very privileged to spend a year at Harvard. I studied social enterprise, impact investing, philanthropy. I did the human rights clinic, and we spun out a social enterprise from the clinic while I was there. It was called the Institute for Multi-Stakeholder Initiative Integrity, which is a bit of a mouthful, MSI Integrity for short, but it was a social enterprise all about helping multi-stakeholder initiatives assess whether they're actually having an impact. And it was a fascinating project to work on, a real project that made a difference under the supervision of experts in the field while I was a graduate student. And I thought, how come Australian students don't have that sort of opportunity to work on a real project that makes a difference while they are at university? And so that was the original inspiration for the Social Impact Hub, and we started with the pilot program with UNSW 5.5 years ago, and we've grown from there. Now the students get to work on a huge variety of different projects, and the students are just often one small component of a much bigger project, especially with the enterprises to get them impact investment ready and then actually secure impact investment. That's a long process. It's one that we're very privileged to play a part of, and we've done it a number of times now.
Can you give me an example of one of the companies that you've kind of followed and helped along the way and has gotten pretty far?
Sure. I can give you a few examples. I should just say, as a starting point, that we've been very privileged to do this work because we've won a number of impact investment ready growth grants that have been funded by the Australian government that basically help fund intermediaries like Social Impact Hub to work with enterprises to get them impact investment ready. And so that's enabled this work, which has been fabulous. And we've probably become one of the leading providers in the space. We've done some fascinating work. So we've done 2 raises for a business called Ability Made, and they do 3D printing of ankle-foot orthoses for kids with disability. So kids that might otherwise end up in a wheelchair because they are unable to walk, they wear these plaster casting ankle-foot orthotics on this part of their foot, and it helps them avoid the need to go into a wheelchair. And their technology replaces a manual traumatic plaster casting process that takes time. Then an orthotist has to manually craft it and then fit it to the person with a instantaneous 3D scan of the child's leg, which is super easy and super efficient and not traumatic at all. And then a central fabrication service where the orthotist uploads the prescription. They then send it to the local 3D printer for printing. And so it's a lovely business that's transforming the future for kids with disabilities. And we actually spoke about it on the stage here at the Impact Investment Summit, their really innovative pathway to funding. So they had some philanthropy in the early days, helping them with their initial clinical trial to prove that it was effective and actually get initial market traction. And then they raised a safe note, impact space. We supported them to raise a safe note, $500,000. And now we've just finished the first priced equity round for Ability Made of $1 million. So it's been quite a journey and a wonderful journey for them. And I think it's also a wonderful example of a social enterprise transitioning from early philanthropy to a safe note to a priced equity round.
Yes, it's a beautiful example of what one might call integrated finance. That is, I think, for some of us, very much the big part of the future, of, if not the future, of impact investing for early stage companies.
That's right. We've also worked with other businesses that haven't needed that. So we've worked with another business called Care Seekers. That's an online platform connecting care workers with people seeking care, either disability care, aged care, or post-operative care. It's an online platform that didn't need early stage philanthropy. So that we help them just with impact investment. We've also just concluded a really innovative financing structure in Australia, which is called the BOLD contract. Now we can talk about it because it's public, but that stands for Beneficial Outcomes Linked Debt Finance, with an enterprise called Exceptional. And Exceptional helps people on the autism spectrum find work that utilises their exceptional skills and abilities. And so instead of doing menial tasks that don't actually utilise their attention to detail, concentration, focus, they're actually helping them find meaningful jobs that use their skills, and they're doing in-house software testing and changing the recruitment process via an app for people with autism. And we just supported them to raise equity and this innovative debt instrument called the BOLD, where the interest rate on the debt is variable depending on the impact created. So the higher the impact, the lower the interest rate on the debt. The lower the impact, the more they have to pay. They're really incentivized to place more people and to achieve more impact.
Wow, that's a really interesting model. You mentioned safes. I know that in, say, Silicon Valley, a lot of the tech startups are using safes as a early form of or way of structuring some early investment or funding. I've heard concerns voiced around safes if things progress a certain way, that a company might end up giving more equity away than they would like to. Is that a concern at all as you worked with this particular company and got them a safe? Because I think if I heard you correctly, they have since had traditional equity investment after that. Was that continuum pretty smooth, or were there any potential pitfalls or actual hurdles or obstacles that came up by kind of exploring these different mechanisms?
So it was agreed with everybody that the SAFE was issued with a 20% discount to what the priced equity round would be issued at, the value of the equity. So that part wasn't so controversial, but I think the bigger barrier or the obstacle for entrepreneurs on this journey, which is definitely worth highlighting, is just the amount of time that it takes entrepreneurs to raise capital through the journey, and the lack of support that exists to help people on that journey. And that's one reason why we exist and why we're both doing what we're doing, to try and help support the entrepreneurs and support the ecosystem. But it's without the support of someone to help guide you and navigate you on who to talk to at what stage and how to best progress the discussions, I think it's a really hard journey, and it's also hard work to resource. So I think that's a big obstacle in terms of more impact entrepreneurs successfully raising impact investment, is just access to the support to do so.
Very good point. Another topic of conversation in the impact investing, equity investment side of things is there are those who advocate more for kind of revenue-based return of capital rather than exits and all that, all the kind of more traditional types of exits for investors in order to maintain mission longer term. How are you grappling with that with your companies?
It's a really good question. So there isn't a legal structure in Australia yet, like the benefit corporation, like you have in the US. there is a movement here to try and create a legal structure so that the mission is locked in to the company. At the moment, what we can do is amend the constitutions to state the mission, but it doesn't actually change the director's duties in the way that a benefit corporation in the US can actually alter the director's duty, so that directors have a duty to all stakeholders and not just shareholders. So we'll see, there's a movement underway in Australia to create the benefit corporation, and we'll see how that transpires over the next few years. Certainly the B Corp certification has gained a lot of traction in Australia and is gaining increasing traction, and hopefully more and more companies will see the benefits in being independently certified to be doing good socially and environmentally and be known as such. So that's one part of the answer to your question. The other part is about the motivations for investors. So if you can find patient capital that doesn't need to exit, well, that's a wonderful thing. And if you can actually agree on a revenue split and the business can get to that point so that they can stay in and the founders can continue what they set out to do, if all's going well, that's excellent. It's relatively early days in Australia to be able to draw any conclusions about exits yet, because the impact market is still developing and we're still trying to get lots of entries and not exits yet. But I think time will tell, and the more we can have patient capital come in who aren't pushing for exits, the better. And to your previous point as well, the more people are prepared to do innovative instruments, especially philanthropic catalytic capital or catalytic capital coming from philanthropic foundations, so that they can actually de-risk the proposition for other investors to come in and crowd more money into the market, I think then we'll be in an even stronger position. So it's about each investor taking the position that they can and hopefully enabling others to join. And if that is an investor that doesn't have to exit, fabulous.
So Social Impact Hub is a co-sponsor of this conference, correct? I think I saw your logo on the banner.
Yes.
So this is not your first ride on this pony.
So we are a strong supporting organisation of this conference, and we actually seeded and incubated the summit at the Social Impact Hub 5 years ago. And I did the very first program for the summit myself. It's a huge amount of work. And so Mel Kreblow now does a fabulous job, and I'm just privileged to serve on the advisory committee of Impact Asia Pac. But we've been involved every year. We continue to strongly support the conference, and in fact, some of the proceeds of the summit over the last 3 years have supported the build of a sister website called the Impact Investing Hub, which is a platform that helps educate Australian investors about impact investing and also helps connect investors with investment opportunities. So we run a live deals library where we have current deals open for investment listed on the platform that helps bring transparency to the market around what's actually open for investment and helps enterprises and funds access capital. So it's just, there's no transfer of funds, it's just a service that we run for the market, and that's partly because this summit is such a fabulous convening in person of hundreds of people from the Australian and Asia Pacific impact ecosystems. Then we have wonderful friends like yourself joining us from the US, and it's such a wonderful gathering in person and a very special convening, but it only happens once a year. And so what happens the other 363 days of the year to enable that connection between investors and investees? And so we hope that the tech platform is part of the solution.
Well, it certainly seems like you've got some very good people in place to make that happen. Jessica, give me your domain name of your website so people can get more information.
So our website is www.socialimpacthub.org, and the Impact Investing Hub is impactinvestinghub.org.
Thanks for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
Sure.